don't believe in God,
but I believe in music.
It's got the power,
and I'm gonna use it.
I believe in evolution,
and the world needs solutions.
I'm gonna sing a song of reason.
We need a revolution.
Right now, don't hesitate. We gotta try to change the weather before it's too late.
Hello and welcome to Utopia. You have achieved the ultimate state, or you have arrived at a place where we are working toward that goal. Today we have with us Art, who's actually the creator of the Utopians. Welcome, Art.
Hi, Gigi. Hi, everybody. Hello, people in the stream. We've got a couple of people in there. We're also just waiting for Madam Who to arrive on the panel, if she's able to make it.
And we have Claire today. Welcome, Claire.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here.
And Ghana is here with us, our resident artist.
Howdy, howdy.
And Claire, I know that you've been doing the Chad Daybell trial on your channel. Is the trial over?
No. After you left, you gratefully came in and helped with a little bit of the legal stuff, you know, during motions. But basically, the defense is rested. They started rebuttal, and then they just started back and forth again about what rebuttal actually means, which was amusing to me in the least. You know, and so then we've taken a long break, and we will start again with rebuttal on Tuesday, which is the prosecution coming back after defense's case to say, you know, I didn't really like that, but or to re-clarify the evidence, which is their responsibility, right? Granny, the defense seems to forget that it's all on the prosecution's side to actually prove stuff. So they're allowed rebuttal because defense opens up the door. It then spent like at least 3 motions whining about what the prosecution wanted to bring back and talk about, when they were issues that the defense clearly brought up that needed to be clarified. And I just found it amusing, but you know, I don't know. Cool. I guess you can tell I really like this stuff, but that's not what today is about. Like, I don't care about Chad Daybell. This is the long weekend. No true crime stuff. Like
today, we're going to be talking about love and objective truth. And Art has a couple of videos for us to see. So go ahead, Art, and let's look at your first video.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I guess as well as the topic that we have to talk about, which is very, very general, something that I wanted to do is to, you know, play some of the things that we've been working on in the past and talk about also what we're doing in the future, because ultimately the channel is also about, well, the altruistic propaganda and putting stuff out there. Like, ultimately, that's what it's about, creating artistic things that are worthwhile and meaningful and say something and putting them out there. So we're going to talk about those types of things, which will also encourage the direction of the conversation. So over the period of these live streams, that's what I think we'll kind of try and steer towards. So I don't know that I have anything specific to play that specifically concerns the topic, but I do have some videos to play. Let's play one of the most recent. So this is the one that we did, and if you've had a look at the channel, you would see this anyway. It's the most recent short that we did with Erin, who couldn't make it today. But these are the type of things we're doing with bringing the community in. So yeah, we'll have a little look.
Out and believing information that you already like or agree with, you are probably being deceived, either by the source or by your...
I'll take that back to the beginning.
If you are only seeking out and believing information that you already like or agree with, you are probably being deceived, either by the source or by yourself. Time to question yourself. This means we must not only think critically and question things that seem to be sketchy, but even more important, to question those things that seem to confirm the way that we already think.
Very good. In other words, always be skeptical.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, that's what it's all about. And look, that's the thing with the altruistic propaganda, is to try and put out good messages like that. But I just wanted to highlight, because Erin has done quite a few readings. She videoed a bunch of readings for me. So that's going to be like a regular thing. And I've called it Objectively Erin. So hopefully she doesn't mind that title. But basically her giving, I suppose, her philosophical outlook and things from writings that she's had in her book. So that'll be a regular thing that pops out over the next few weeks.
I really like the
I just got
title.
to edit those.
I
You like
think
that?
I really do. I think it kind of honed in on the whole thing, especially what
Cool,
she said,
thanks.
like what she actually said. What is that saying that says, as soon as you think you know, you can most assuredly be guaranteed you don't?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I have heard that before, things
Mhm.
along those lines. Yeah, and totally
Mhm.
agreed. But she's got a lot of interesting and thought-provoking little things to talk about, and things that are pretty much good advice. I do have a couple more videos to show, but I guess essentially, I know it's a very general thing to say, here's the answer to everything. And this is how we find utopia, is through objective truth and love. I know that's extreme to say that, but ultimately, I think if you look at it, it all kind of comes back to that. Because on the one side of things, we want to gather as many facts as possible
Mhm.
and base everything that we do on facts and what's actually real, because things that are lies can ultimately only let you down. As we can see, I think, with religion and things like that, well, we know that so much of that is just not truth based. Ultimately, it's going to let you down if it's not true. So I think you have to.
But is there such a thing as objective truth?
Yeah.
See, that's the thing, because if you say like objective truth, like based in fact, something that's like uncontestable, even the statement of we're alive and we're breathing, okay, all four of us would agree, and probably everybody in the chat, oh yeah, and say that's objective truth. Okay,
Yeah.
now go ahead and try to prove it, and I guarantee there'll be
Right.
a whole bunch of people that could pick it apart and say, nope, not so.
Sure. Yeah. From a philosophical point of view, look, I guess I wouldn't even go as far as to say living and breathing. I'd go as far as to say that the one objective truth that I'm 100% sure of, I think we would all have to agree, is we're all experiencing something, but we don't know what that is. But we are definitely having an experience, whether we're in a computer
Even if you're just a
program.
brain in a vat, you're still having an experience.
Exactly. A brain in a
Exactly.
vat or a computer program or whatever you happen to be, you're definitely having an experience. I mean, that's an objective fact, isn't it? Nobody surely can argue that point. But whether we are living, breathing creatures, yeah, sure,
True.
you can debate that point.
That's a much better way to put it, because even if we tried to say we're all here right now, we couldn't prove that objectively either.
No.
Because there'd be somebody coming in here with the planes and the astrals and the multiple scenarios at the same time theories,
And
and
we'd go down all wormholes, and it would just end up rabbit
exactly.
holes, and it would just
And a
go
lot
everywhere.
of that is scientifically proved, like has some theory to it. So
Exactly,
it can't be objective. You're right. Like, just say we're all experiencing, and like
We're
the
definitely
word
experiencing
something.
And I can only speak for myself. I might be the only person that exists. For all I know, you guys might not be real.
We're all
But
figments of your imagination.
Exactly.
You've done a great job. How interesting we all are.
Yeah, so at the very least, I at least know that I'm having some experience. Yes, you are all interesting. I'm a good God. I'm an amazing God. But yeah, on a practical sense, I guess just aiming for objective truth, which you're never going to achieve, but getting as close as we can, which is going to be pretty distantly from it. But just based on facts, and going from things like, obviously, clearly science is as objective as we can get because of the scientific method and how it's approached. is clearly.
Mark Caesar says, God damn it, why didn't you imagine me being rich?
Why didn't I imagine me with hair? There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things we can look at there, but that's a fair point. I'll try and do better next time.
Yeah,
Maybe in your next life.
one question that really has gotten me to thinking, and I do not have an answer for it, on the question of whether or not there is objective truth, is we frequently the question of slavery comes up, and particularly in regards to Christianity, because Christianity obviously saw that as morally acceptable at one time, but now Christians all agree that that is morally unacceptable. And somebody challenged me asking, well, was it morally unacceptable even in the past? And I said, yes. But was it to the people who lived there? No, it was not. They just simply didn't know any better. Well, then is it objectively true that slavery is immoral, or is it just immoral now? And I don't know the answer to that question.
Doesn't it depend on who you ask? Because if you asked a slave back then, I think they had a different opinion.
Oh yeah, no question. No question. Although there may have been some of them who just simply accepted that it was their lot in life.
Well, because they had a roof over their head and food in their belly, so to speak, in a very hard
no,
times.
I'm thinking more in terms of that, they didn't know that life could be any different. It's the only life they knew.
Oh, like all they knew. Yes. Yeah.
I recently went to an art museum in Philadelphia, and we were looking at they had this grave of this king, and there were 36 women that were his wives that were all buried alive with him. Well, actually, they weren't alive. Somebody went and smashed all of their skulls, and then they buried all of their wives with him.
Oh, that's nice.
And one of the things we were discussing was whether or not the women went to this willingly. Did they feel like it was an honor to be able to die with their husband, or was this something they were forced into? And we will never know the answer to that question. But in that culture, that may have been something that they looked forward to and felt it was an honor.
And there you go, the difference between objective and subjective reality. Absolutely.
Yeah, look, yeah, sure. The other side of it is I mean, you can have objective truth and you can have facts, okay, but that alone isn't gonna make things better, is it? Because we can still all be extremely selfish and use those facts against people and whatever. So the other side of it is love. So objective truth and love. So it means, compassion and caring, having a conscience, all of those things, empathy, all of those good words that we like. So that's the other side of it. So I didn't quite pick up on what you were saying there, Gigi, about slavery, because I was responding in the chat there. But I guess essentially what you guys both said is...
I was basically saying that I don't know whether slavery has always been morally wrong, or if I only see it wrong because that's the way we see it in our current society. And I don't know the answer.
No, look, I would have to say it is objectively wrong. If you're a master and there's a slave, you're assuming that they should be happy with their lot, and you're assuming that you're entitled to what you have, and it be more than what they have, and for them just to be treated in a certain way and just be given what they're given and to accept that, I feel that that's not being honest or treating your fellow human as an equal, because they should be entitled
clearly
as you are,
It's unfair, but sometimes they put themselves into that situation. Like you go into slavery as a way to pay off debt or to pay somebody back. So you kind of know, sometimes you knowingly go into it.
Right. Yeah. And of course, when you say that, you're not talking extreme slavery where you're chained.
No, where people are selling people, and that's
right. Or taking a job you don't necessarily believe in the outcome of, but you're doing it to pay your debt, to do what you got to do to survive.
Right.
But because pushing products and salesmen and things like that, does everybody actually think they totally believe 100% of what they say and they're spreading goodwill and cheer? No, they're paying the bills, right?
Yeah, it
And
doesn't make it right, but
yeah.
if you need a surgery and somebody's willing to pay for it and you don't have
Mhm.
anything to give them except your physical time and
Right.
labor,
Whatever. Yeah.
you become a
Yeah.
slave to them, and
Yeah.
you may have to pay that off through generations, which is the thing that happens all over
Right.
the world still, like generations of debt
Mhm.
and just
I'm
families
not
in slavery.
necessarily talking about debt slave. I'm talking about any type of slavery. If you go back 4,000 years and you were to ask the people who owned slaves back then, is slavery wrong? They would say, well, no, this is just how we do things. This is just a way of life. And they didn't know any better. And so it's easy for us in our modern age to say that this is objectively wrong, but they certainly didn't see it that way. So is
Mhm.
it still true that it was wrong back then, even though they didn't know it?
It depends on how much grace, or AKA what Art said, love. I call it grace because love has a different interpretation
Yeah.
to me. But the
That's a
grace
good
in
word.
allowing the other interpretation of what they may have been thinking in their time and in their life and how they feel, like allowing all that additional information to be put. Because if you just judge it on our standards, it's going to be one way.
Right.
You got to allow the grace, the AK love, to look at the other additional information, which is those other people involved way back when, which we don't know. Like unless we were actually there, we will never know. We weren't a slave, nor were we masters of that time. We only have what they put down in writing or what we can find that depicts the history of. And even in interpreting that, it's really important to apply all that grace to the fact, because we have to admit objectively, in truth, that we don't know. That right.
I would say, look, maybe there's something innately in us that moves us away from that. Because let's face it, if there was a chance that slavery was okay back then to some people, and it's just the way things are, it would probably still be that way. But we seem to progress away from these
Yes.
ideas. So there must be something innate, whether it's an evolutionary thing. There's something in us, a natural, innate moral sense that tells us that no, we don't want that. It's not fair. Even if most people don't get it, there'll be a handful of people, they would be known as progressives, that would come in and say, this is wrong and this is why. And a lot of those would get burned and stoned and whatever and treated as witches or whatever. But the few that would come through and keep pushing the ideas would move us forward to where we are now. And we've still
Which
got
is why I don't think that there is objective truth. I think truth is discovered by degrees. And I think that we progressively get closer as we learn to empathize with one another better. But I don't think we ever arrive at something that is objective truth.
Sure. I guess when we talk about people and society, there's probably no objective truth. I guess ultimately, on a universal sense, there is an objective truth of how the universe definitely happened. We think it's definitely the Big Bang, but there's variations on that theory. I guess it's still not set in stone. It's not like gravity. So on that, in that way, there has to be an absolute truth. It's just that we don't know what that is yet. We haven't discovered it. Science hasn't discovered it. It knows a lot, but it doesn't know everything. So I guess that there has to be an objective truth of how that happened. We just haven't seen it. We don't know what that is. It's probably not God. Just saying.
I think Purple is right that most people could not enslave anyone without some validation that they were superior to the others.
Yeah.
And that brings a good point. That since the beginning of time, there has been a system based on even just nature. When you look, forget humans for a second, even in nature, of a type of caste system, a hierarchy. It just exists. It is what it is. It is in humans also, which is how, in my humble belief, slavery even exists at all. And it's because of that someone needs to be king, someone needs to be top dog, or nothing runs right. And it's proven in nature, and it's just what we know.
But we're never
it-
ultimately happy with that, are we? Because we
no.
always push against it, and there's always
Mhm.
a rebellion, and
Mhm.
empires fall, and
Mhm.
Caesars, kings get overrun, and then a new
Mhm.
leader comes along, and then they reign for a while. But then the people aren't happy with that, so they rebel. It's an ongoing
Exactly.
thing. So there's
That's
never ever complete contentment with that situation.
exactly. That's human nature. There's always a better way. No matter what kind of person you are, aggressive or meek or mild or gentle, whatever. There's always that innate thought. There's always a better way, right? There's always a
Yeah.
better way to do something. There's always a better system.
Mm.
Whether you say I can do it better, or a system could do it better, or a group I
Mm.
belong to can do it better, it's almost human nature to always look at anything and say that could be improved, that could be changed, I can do it. Like something
Yeah,
can be better about it.
for sure. And look, as we said, we are moving forward and improving all the time.
Mm.
People talk about the good old days and whatever, and sure, there might be some nice things about it. But when they say the good old days, you could be talking about times when, women couldn't vote, and, gay people couldn't get married and things like that. It's
Mhm.
not really the good old days. It's not perfect. In general, we're progressing in the right direction, you know. But there is definitely a way to go. And when we look around and we see poverty still, and we see war, and we see all of these devastating situations happening out there, we know we wouldn't want that to happen to us. Why are we still allowing it to happen to other people? What's wrong with us that this still happens? So there's still a way to go, which is why something like this is worthwhile, is to talk about those kind of issues and try and keep moving forward. Can we ever achieve complete utopia? Probably not. We're imperfect beings. Whatever perfect is, I don't know, but we're
Mhm.
probably not. We probably can't be perfect. So, but we can try and achieve more. There is a
True.
lot of misery out there still, and we can still move away further from that misery.
Isn't it kind of, to bring it back to objective truth, when you think about utopia, the reason it can never actually be achieved, because there's never going to be a mindset where everyone agrees exactly what it is.
Oh, of course, yeah, yeah. I guess we could all agree to disagree, and let people live like
Hmm.
even now, just with different minorities and that out there that some people, for whatever reason, have an issue with.
Hmm.
It's about just accepting that and just saying, well, it is what it is. You go over there and live in peace.
Hmm.
I guess we'll always have kind of a tribal situation, but as long as that group's over there and just saying, yeah, do your thing, whatever. I won't get in your way, bother you. You
Hmm.
don't bother me. As long as we're not hurting each other, there's
Hmm.
not an issue. Do whatever you do within your own group.
Yeah, very similar to what Mark's saying there. You need a leader, you need somebody like a collective body with the
Yeah,
same opinion to move it forward. But there's always going to be opposition. There's always going to be
Mhm.
somebody left out. There's always going to be somebody, like I said, who thinks they can do it better. That your idea is not exactly perfect, and let me
yeah,
improve on it by doing this.
yeah.
It's a never-ending cycle.
I know it's complicated. Maybe
Mm.
that even comes down to, which was spoken about before, secular spirituality. Is there a way to find peace within ourselves? Maybe through things like meditation, like self-analysis, all of those things, to find peace within ourselves and not have to try and take control of things all the time.
Oh
I mean,
gosh, it's such a personal subject for me. That's a discussion I wrestle with every day.
yeah,
You know.
um, yeah. Look,
Art,
yeah.
let's take a look at your second video.
Okay, what do we got here? Now I'm talking. What is happening is new people are coming along all the time. All right. So I'm always on the search for what's out there. This is why I sometimes don't get the chance to watch people's videos and what other people are doing, because I try and spend time building this up. So I check out what other people are doing. And honestly, there's just an absolute wealth of talent out there, which is what excites me about this whole platform, is just bringing all of that together. So I've come across this person, Animated Al from England, and we've done one thing together, and he's keen to do a bit more. And we did this little thing. I don't know if anyone's seen it.
Good to keep an open mind.
I've played these before, so they're kind of halfway through. All right, let's go again.
It is good to keep an open mind. It is Good to keep an open mind. Yes, it is good to keep an open mind, but not so open that your brains fall out.
Yeah, so that's another cute little idea.
Yeah.
Did Ghana do all the artwork for that?
Great
No,
job.
Ghana, the stuff that Ghana has done so far mostly is the characters, all the cartoon characters, and Ghana does other stuff as well. So she's not confined to that, but so far for the channel, it's mostly those types of things. No, I got those off of Canva.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so they have little artistic pieces. If you have a paid subscription, you've got access to a whole heap of stuff. But a non-paid subscription, you have access to a few bits and pieces. To be honest, I don't want to use those kinds of things. I would rather it was original art from people that are out there in the community, like Ghana and like Al that did that, because it's just more original and it's kind of authentic.
Yeah.
I prefer to do that. But to make the point with that, I needed to borrow some little unicorns and things just to make the point about, not being gullible, don't let your brains fall out.
I like the visual of the brains actually falling out. That was good. They
Yeah.
found that. That was really clever. Have you seen that they have AI now inside Canva? Like they see that because I know
AI and everything.
I've been using it.
Right. Yeah.
The only thing I've been using it for is to create the thumbnails for the Douglas Adams series that I'm having read for the YouTube. And so it just like I can tell them a part of the story and it creates it itself and it can keep it all uniform. So it's like kind of creating it but not creating it, because I do use a lot of original art in my reads. But just to contract somebody for a thumbnail for every single one would be astronomical, I think. For like 40 or 50 people that actually like Douglas Adams out on YouTube. That's like
that's classic stuff. I read those books when I was probably in my teens, maybe going into my early 20s. I can't remember, a long time ago, but they are classics. The Hitchhiker's trilogy plus the one on the end, so long and thanks for all the fish.
Yeah. And even more after. I think there was one more at the end. Yeah, but it was.
I went as far as that.
I don't know if I'm going to actually put that one out. That's book number 6, and they used his writings, but somebody else finished it. So I'm kind of going between keeping it traditional with only clear Douglas Adams works, but I'm getting a lot of pushback that they're saying that is Douglas Adams. Like he would have wanted it out there, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the last one.
Right. Yeah.
How old were you, if you don't mind me asking, when you read it?
I can't recall.
Were you a teenager or young adult?
I could have been in my teens. I could have been in my early 20s. Hitchhiker's Guide was one of those things that started leading me towards an interest in science and critical thinking and all that. I went from there and started reading people like Carl Sagan, who is maybe my all-time hero out of everybody.
Yeah, I love him.
Because his book, The Demon Haunted World, just completely changed my life and my attitude towards everything.
Yeah.
It's probably the most responsible for making me think the way I do now. But most definitely, because as a teenager, I was into fantasy novels and whatever. I did like science fiction, H.G. Wells and all that type of stuff, which led me to reading the Douglas Adams ones, but it also just gave me the sense of wanting to discover more and read more serious kind of books. So, yeah, he was really responsible for that. I think I was probably a teenager, probably late teens, 18, 19, I guess.
Yeah, that's about when I read it. And I was also reading like Soylent Green and Catcher in the Rye. Some very disturbing books. So for me, my love of Douglas Adams is his reminding me that no matter what you're faced with in great adventure, learning, and, don't limit yourself and bring your sense of humor. You're going to be okay. These books are great for that because no matter what goes on, there's always these funny lines and these catchy things. And it just breaks you, with these concepts, to just remember, no matter how bad it gets, like, face the truth and then just, deal with it and remember your sense of humor. It's just,
Yeah, brilliant sense of humor.
yeah,
Brilliant
it's
sense
so
of humor.
imaginative, just the characters and what they're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was great. But,
And it's great what you're doing with your readings as well. It's gonna take you forever to finish that, isn't it?
we're on book 2, and it's been a year now. And I slowed
Mm.
down actually putting out book 2. I'm doing it like once every week or two, a chapter.
Yeah.
In the beginning, the first book, I did it like 2 chapters a week. But I've got a great bunch of people. I'm always looking for anybody that wants to read. It's pretty simple. You get 10 pages, you put in an audio, everybody's part of it. I'll create the actual stream for it and shout out your channels or your platforms or whatever you want. But
How can I get in contact with you, Claire? I know we don't have 1 million people in the chat, but like even just to put it out there.
oh yeah, anybody. Like my socials are pretty open, right, Granny? Like I'm everywhere. You just go to go to Twitter, go to YouTube, go to Instagram, go to Facebook. Like you can find me anywhere. My
Yeah,
DMs are
you're not hard
open.
to find.
And if you want to be part of it, it's an ongoing project. You can be as part of it as little or as much as you want. We're on book 2 now. I think I do have one section that needs to be reassigned for book 2, but we'll be starting assigning, page groups for book 3, probably within the next month or so. And I just keep a list of people that want to be contacted. And when it comes time, I just find out. I give
Even
people.
I did a reading, guys. Even I did a reading.
Yes, he did.
My
You
weird
were in.
Scottish Australian accent.
It was that's what I love, all the different accents. And
Yeah.
I'm only talking about it because it's part of community. It's not so much like forget it. I don't want to shout out my channel or any of
No,
that.
no, it's great. Please
The
do.
process
Please
of
do.
doing
Please do.
something with community that brought over everybody together with the love of something to get other people interested. The most exciting part for me is the people that listen to a chapter, never read the book before, want to go read the book, and then all of a sudden, God, we got to get more people to read these books. We got to get more people in on this. And that for me is exciting. People that never heard of it, that read it. Some younger people, like in their 20s and 30s.
Because I wouldn't know about it.
Yeah.
People don't read books anymore.
Oh, I love reading books.
Yeah, well, most
don't get
people
time
just
for it.
don't have the patience
books.
to go through a whole book anymore.
Yeah, right. It's funny, isn't it, how we're changing? But it was always the most. I used to look forward to it, just sitting down with a cup of coffee or whatever you're having, and just getting a book out or laying in bed or whatever, and just getting it out. Like you're going to go into this fantasy world, or you're going to be completely absorbed in it. In many ways, better than watching a movie or anything like that,
For me, reading was destroyed when I had my back surgery.
Oh, okay, all right. Because you couldn't get comfortable.
I can't sit. I can sit straight like this and read a book, with it on the table in front of me, or I can lay flat on my back and hold the book up over my head. But those are the only 2 positions I can read in, and so I just can't get comfortable anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame. As far as reading goes, it's not a thing I get a heap of time to do. The most recent books that I've read are Aaron Lewis's books, actually. If we want to do plugs,
there you go.
South of Heaven.
I have 2 of Aaron's books.
And Colleen, and other one I've got on Kindle, which is the one she's doing her readings from. So you got some book, or
I have Expose Yourself.
Good. Yeah, I read that too. I've got that on Kindle. Which is the one she's doing all her readings from, because that was the one that kind of went more into reality. It's more of a documentary type book, rather than a story, a fantasy novel. So yeah, that's where that's all coming from. But look, as far as the community stuff goes, that's what we want, Claire. Like, feel free to talk about any of those, because you guys' intentions overall, everyone's here intentions are good, and you mean well in whatever you do. So anything that you're doing, I'm happy to put out here for the millions of viewers that we have. Oh, look, we got 4 now, so that's pretty exciting.
Yay, 4!
I'll be as big as Granny's channel soon. You watch, it's coming. I don't know about that, but anyway. Look, while we're
Art, one thing that I did that really helped to grow my channel, and believe it or not, because I really didn't think this would work, but it really did, was to do it topless. And I said I would do my stream topless for a certain number of donations or
Mhm.
and this is all you could see of me. I mean, it wasn't like
Yeah.
I was exposing anything that was
That you
improper.
felt uncomfortable with.
Right, right.
Right. Okay.
Um,
Ah.
and it really worked. So maybe we should do that. Maybe we'll do a
Hang
topless
on, I'll
stream.
just get the shirt off now.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking Claire,
Nobody
Claire
wants
could
to do
take her
that.
shirt off and nobody's gonna even
I
notice.
have naked avatars. My naked avatar boobs have been all over YouTube. Maybe you don't know. I used to do well, to be graphic, they called it the tit stream with Jen Polymathic. Okay. And the only time I actually showed the real ones, just the cleavage, it was just my avatar, but it was just like a cleavage shot. Okay. It was still an avatar. If somebody thought it was my butt. So never again are you getting the real deal, guys. Forget it. You'll have to deal with quite nice avatars, because I did the Mayhem show and we did it all naked, and to prove it was naked, all the avatars were naked. So somebody took my avatar, took all the clothes off, and gave me really nice breasts. And actually, Jen and I used to argue back and forth, because like she used her avatar, which actually used I'm drawing a blank here. I know I sound silly, but what do you call those things you put over your nipples to hide your nipples?
Pasties?
Pasties. She had like colorful pasties on her, so she wasn't really naked. And YouTube took it down. Every Mayhem show, I had my naked avatar on that thumbnail. They never touched it. I used to tease her. I said, "It's all in how the breasts look. Like it's whether they like them or not." I don't know.
That's good advice from Granny. Anyway, that's a bit of good advice. So if you want
get
the channel
naked.
to do well, naked, get stripping off. Well, talking to that, because Erin's background is as a stripper, actually. We're just talking about with those books, but she's a great author, and has a lot of good things to say out there. She's a good person to have out in the community. But anyhow, here's a little clip that I will put up. And actually, this one has Claire singing.
Oh, don't call what I do singing, please. Like this.
Well, you've got a characteristic voice, and this is what I love doing. I love to experiment with what people have, and you do have what I would call a sultry kind of tone to your voice and an interesting accent. New Jersey with a twist, I call it. But I like that. But there's a thing on the program that I use for recording. It's called Melodyne. You can make a pitch. You can make a melody out of people's voices. You can move it around up to a point and make something out of it. So I did mess with this. And the half-naked person on this, although she's a redhead, is not Claire.
No. Is this Erin? Yes.
This is Erin. Yeah. So this is
Erin. Yes.
Ganna did Erin's cartoon self, which is her, and I just thought it suited the topic in some sort of abstract way.
Oh,
anyway,
now I think I remember this one. Now I think I know what you're talking about here.
Well, I'll stick it up and you can have a look.
Okay.
Here we go.
Ate some fruit from the tree of knowledge. Had an average education. Didn't go to college. But I've read a lot of books by pondering scholars. Ate a little fruit from the tree. Tasty pieces, juicy as can be. Ate a little fruit from the tree. An original sinner, that's me.
There you go. That's Erin's book there that exposed herself. I've got it on my Kindle, so I just took a photograph of some of the books that I have laying around.
Yeah, I have that one too. I haven't started it yet.
Right, I have a paperback cover, so my cover's different.
Yeah. I most enjoyed that. That was, I think, the first one that I read, and then I thought, oh, let's have a look at a couple of these fantasy novels, and I enjoyed both of those. In particular, South of Heaven, I think, was probably my favorite. But anyway, worth getting a hold of some of Erin's books.
Yeah. That brings up, like, when Rocket Couch first entered the chat, he was like, what is this here? Like, what is this, like, utopia? But that's like a perfect example of what it is. People from all over different communities with different creative aspects and different talents and backgrounds just coming together to try to talk about, well, if we could change the world and make it a better place, what would that look like, or how do we get there, or just broad strokes.
Totally nailed it, Claire. That's exactly what it's all about. And we had a live stream a couple of weeks ago where it was an LGBTQ plus special. And that was, I just love being in a situation where you get to hear people's stories and their backgrounds of an environment that I probably wouldn't come across these people because it's just not who I happen to be around, I'm open to absolutely anybody, but it's just not my situation. So to hear stories from people like the lovely people here in the community and in the chat is just brilliant. And it gives you, it's great creatively because it gives you something to draw from in creating the little things that we put out there.
Yeah.
So that was really good. And I want to do more stuff like that, invite specific people on and do themed, they'll be specials. But yeah, exactly that. Community and all the different talents, the different backgrounds that people have, the different stories that people have to tell are all really valuable.
Yeah, and like Granny said, to actually get that message out there and let people know how comfortable it is to come here and give their opinions on it and to bring topics, then we need a hook. And Naked Stream it is the hook. Okay. Because that's what that is. It's not that we're promoting nakedness or we need to see more nakedness on YouTube or we think you should all be naked. It's all
that's what the crowd wanted. It said 100% topless stream.
Okay, well, look, there you go. I hate to do it, guys, but that's the new approach.
Okay.
You can only come on the show if you're willing to get naked.
I'm gonna laugh so hard if that is like the most views we get for 2024 will be the naked
I'm
stream.
sure it will be, but we have to have Erin. We absolutely have to have Erin.
Yes, because she's a double hook because she's got a background to actually, go with it, and then she's gonna bring that bodaciousness with her, and then definitely, so it's a double hook. Now, if we could get a triple hook.
Well, I can tell you one thing: nobody is getting to see me naked. All right.
We got to at least comment. Yeah. Purple said Art is already topless. There's nothing above his eyes.
Hey,
it's a good look though.
I can class that as being my topless, like literally.
Hey, we're at least get shoulders out of you, right? I mean, that's going to be the limit,
right?
Shoulders. Shoulders.
I cut it off right at the microphone level.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, we'll go naked as far as that goes.
And
put a towel on, wrap it around you.
Yeah, there you go. You don't even have to actually be naked. Just take your shoulders off. Yeah.
Nobody wants to look at my old man hairy chest, I can tell you. So
that's why I was so surprised that people even wanted to see it. I said, I'm too old for this, but evidently I'm not.
You know what I've learned on YouTube? There's a gawker for everything, Granny. Don't worry about it. Like
Mark Caesar asked, how much did I raise on my topless stream? I think it was around $2,000.
Yay! See, they obviously supported it totally, Granny. Like, great.
Super. And what was that raising for? What?
Oh, I don't remember. Sorry, it was something LGBTQ related, but I don't remember which charity.
Hey, listen, if there's anything like that, because I know Erin did the Freedom from Religion Foundation charity. I think they raised like over 60,000 or something. Like it was some. I think, don't take that as gospel, but I watched some of it, and I'm sure that was a number that was there. But there was a bunch of people from that community, like all the names that you would recognize. But Erin appeared on that for an hour. She was on one of the panels. And they did brilliant. But look, anything like that that's out there that we can get on board with, your LGBTQ plus one, GG, that you just mentioned, if there's anything like that, like let me know too, because I'm happy to contribute in whatever way to those types of causes, whether it's creating things to help promote it or to help in some way with live streams, or I don't know. But that's part of what we want to do, is to get out there and help with causes out in the community. Anyway, so look, in moving along, all right.
How about love? Love
Yes.
was one of the topics for tonight.
Yeah.
That's a really broad topic. What did you have in mind with that, Art?
I don't know. Once again, like, I mean, we spoke about the objective truth thing, and it's very, very general. Yeah, the love thing is just the other side of it. It's also extremely general. You can break it down into a lot of small parts. But essentially, if we don't care about each other, then it's not. It doesn't make any difference what we know. You know, like that. That's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
That it comes from. Yeah, you have to care as well. I have this idea in my head that if you're going to make decisions, you want to make, and it's going to affect people in a negative way. You want to make sure that you know all the facts, and also you want to always, when you make decisions, come from a place of compassion and caring and empathy. Just try and understand other people in their situation, so don't just bullheadedly jump in there and do things like say gay people cannot get married, or we have issues with this community or that community, you can do this, you can't do that. Please have come from a place of compassion. The thing is, I think a lot of people are very, very subjective and very insular and don't know how to have empathy, to put themselves in someone else's shoes. So I guess that's what I'm saying with that.
There's too many people that determine what is right and wrong and what is moral and what they should do based on what they've been told rather than what they've experienced or what they've felt or what they've discovered for themselves.
Yeah. I think people just kind of bumble in and make decisions or do things that affect other people in a way negatively without really thinking it through, or without considering the position of what if I was in that situation. People tend to be so insular. If they're not in a situation, it's easy for them to kind of just brush it aside. So if you have an issue with, say, trans people, just have a think about it. What would you be like in a situation? And this is something that I use all the time. What if it was my child? You know, or what if it was someone close to me that was going through this? You know, I mean, it's not an issue with me anyway, but for someone that does have an issue with it, you know, please have some empathy and just consider the possibility of what would it be like if it happened to you? This is what that person's going through. Think about what it would be like if it was you that was going through it, you know?
Exactly. That's the grace. That's the grace of it all. Have the respect and the grace to say, you don't know. Like, where are you to judge, like, whether that is right or wrong? You're not in the situation. You don't have family. You don't understand it. Regardless of what you read or how it may go against your personal religious beliefs and all, keep in mind they're personal. Grace is all about the acceptance of more than your personal perspective of something. And I mean, to
One
me,
thing that's
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I thought you were finished. I'm sorry.
No, I am. I was going to go to a different thought. Yeah.
One thing that's really difficult, though, is to know when a person is going to be open and when they aren't. You know, I know there's a lot of push in some of the state legislatures to tell schools to out children that reveal that they're transgender to their parents. And sometimes that's a terrible idea because sometimes the parents can't accept it and they completely reject it. But on the other hand, sometimes it's absolutely the opposite. I heard one story where a man said that, you know, he went to pick up his 4-year-old daughter from preschool, and the preschool teacher, his 4-year-old child from preschool, and the teacher told him, your child has told me that she's transgender. And his immediate response was, there's my beautiful daughter. And not all parents would do that. And it's so hard to know who's going to and who's not.
Yeah, so there's a risk there, isn't there? Even though overall the idea, because it's the truth, is what we should strive for, but then you're going to put some people in a situation where, they could be outed by their family or whatever. And it puts them in a predicament. But I guess ultimately, if they're living that life, then they're living a lie. Are they ever going to be happy? I guess ultimately you want to go in the direction of the truth.
And that's tough too, because it does go both ways. And just to be a little bit of a devil's advocate, so to speak, side of the coin. The applying of grace also goes to those families that are so religious that they find out that there is a child that is not accepting of it or is in the LGBT community, and it completely outs them and have nothing to do with them. And some of us would say, that's so wrong, that's judgy, like how could you do that? You're supposed to love your child, that's your damn child. And yet you got to apply that grace. For them to actually accept that child, their whole world has to go upside down, does it not? Everything that they believe and that they live by has to be wrong. Who can do that in a moment? Love or no more. It takes time. Some of them get there, some of them don't. Okay. Some of them get there, some of them don't, but nobody's instantly there, not with your whole world and everything else you ever knew and believed in, and this is, and I'm not saying what they're doing is right. Believe me, I'm of the opposite coin, but I do believe in applying the grace to the situation that is necessary, that I'm not them, and I wouldn't want to deal with it. I wouldn't want to deal with my whole world turning upside down like that. Who knows how I would act? I might be just as big an asshole, actually. Know?
Look, I guess we have to have empathy towards the people who are indoctrinated in such a way that they react to a situation like that in the way that they do.
Like many of us here, I came from a religious family. It's not exactly an easy thing to just say that everything that they believe is 100% wrong. And walk away.
I'm very lucky in that way. I never was brought up with religion. It was never pushed upon me. My parents weren't religious. We did the usual things. You go to christenings, you get married in churches, all of that, funerals, blah blah blah. But no religion. And as far as I think I'm a natural ally to like the gay or the LGBTQ plus community, because from a young age that never affected me. And I had a good friend at school who was gay, welcomed into our house, no problems. My parents knew, never spoke about it, didn't care. So I was really lucky to have progressive parents who that sort of thing just didn't affect them. So I'm naturally just not bigoted in any way towards anything like that. I don't have a religious background, so as an atheist really from pretty young, and had no issues with the LGBT community.
It's
either.
funny.
I don't understand why people did have an issue. It didn't make sense, but
it's funny. I had very progressive parents as well. They were in favor of the civil rights movement, and they were, my dad marched in some of the protests of the Vietnam War. But when it came to certain other issues, even though they weren't religious, they held very traditional ideas. We had very traditional gender roles in our house. The girls do the inside work, the boys do the outside work. And one of the things I still think was the craziest thing of all was the boys were allowed to watch Monty Python's Flying Circus with my dad, but the girls were not. Okay.
Right.
My 11-year-old brother can watch this show, but I'm 16 and I'm not allowed.
You're not allowed to, right? Yeah. Okay. Well, there's where massive contradictions start to sneak in. And I know that everything's not related back to religion. I know that tradition and conservatism largely comes from religion, but it's not all religiously based.
I'm just horrified she was denied one of the greatest
comedic
tropes out there. Like, that's an experience. I love that stuff.
It's weird. I was thinking about it before for some reason, because Animated Al, he's an English guy, the guy that we played the video from before, and some of his videos that he's put out made me think of Monty Python. And for some reason, it crossed my mind. I bet you Claire likes Monty Python.
Loved it. Are you kidding? I would watch it all again. Still in Terry Gilliam, in some of the writers from that, and I'm also a big a fan of their books. Currently, something that I was watching the season 2 of was Good Omens by Neil Gaiman.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen that, but yeah.
And it's because it's one of the guys from Monty Python, is very much along that kind of humor, some religious aspect, some disbelief of the aspect of the, it's hysterical. I loved that stuff.
Great stuff.
Oh my
Life
God.
of Brian is an absolute classic.
It's epic. Have you been able to immerse yourself in any of it since? Oh, Godless Granny, have you been able?
I have seen the Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I absolutely love that. I've seen that several times. I know I have seen The Life of Brian, but it's been so long I barely remember it. And I have seen some episodes of Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Yep. Yeah, it's classic stuff. And look, they're the sort of, this is where art makes you think, because I mean, obviously those things are funny, but it puts ideas in your head. I mean, Life of Brian is clearly comes from a position of, not being very religious,
Yeah, that's why I couldn't accept it when it first came out, because I was very religious at that point. Yeah.
Oh, it was blacklisted. Like you couldn't
I can
just
imagine,
to even watch it was a statement like that you were making. You weren't even allowed to watch it without people thinking that was a big thing. Yeah.
Wow, I can imagine that in America must have been crazy. Like here in Australia, none of my
No,
friends.
but see, that's why you automatically think that I would actually like all of that stuff, because you understand that in my household, even though I'm right here in America on the East Coast, but I was raised with more of a European because of my tutors and the influence and everything. Like it was more or less a little less confining that way in accepted. So I could, but there was many in my age group and friends in the area that were not allowed.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But in general, New York, I know you're New Jersey, but sure, they're more progressive in general. In there, is that right?
It could have been in the past. You would think so, because mostly because, and I think that thinking, it's just like California is like East Coast, West Coast thinking. It's because of I don't know, it's going to be a broad statement here, and I hope I don't get judged too harshly, but it's because of the diversity in the amount of immigrants and different languages and what we deal with, like generally, so forced progression is what it is or was. And now it's actually getting to be quite contentiously red or blue. Like every city, every county, you can't just count a state anymore, like to think just one way or an area. It's getting quite contentious because people are just like, well, even like when you said it, like, I don't want to be judged as just being like so progressive that I'm automatically a Democrat or I'm automatically, like that. There's been such a rebellion and a pushback. It's actually horrifying for me because I'm not used to it. The area is changing rapidly, rapidly.
You guys must be getting a bit nervous because your election's coming up in November, isn't it? So
we are
very.
Yeah.
I just cannot believe the level of stupidity of people in this country.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely stuns me as well. But look, I think we're all the same. The media's got a lot to answer for. But it can happen to any country. But yeah, it seems that anything that happens in the world, America seems to be able to take it to the extreme. And I'm stunned that, I mean, I don't want to go too much into politics, but the fact that some cartoon villain like Donald Trump can be seriously considered as the president of the US, like, how does that happen? Like, I don't know.
I'm amazed we only picked between Biden and Trump. Like, there's how many people in the United States, and we picked the same two candidates that we had last.
Yeah.
Well,
they're both ancient. They're both
right.
ancient.
And hysterically enough, they made age an issue, even though they were both like really older than dirt 4 years ago, and you voted for them to be the candidates. Like, what are you people talking about? Like, it's like they don't pay attention. Like, did you?
It's tradition that you do not run against against a standing president. So if as soon as Biden announced that he was running, that really closed the door to anyone else in the Democratic Party.
And that's a shame too, because that's just following tradition. And I think it was time to. I don't know about how you feel about it, Granny, but I thought it was time to break that tradition.
Yeah, I know. The only thing is that I don't think there is any person in the Democratic Party right now that is strong enough to take on Trump. And even though Biden, isn't all that strong, he's at least middle of the road enough that he can garner enough support to beat Trump.
Mhm.
And
And I
don't think there's
agree with
many
all of
other
that,
people.
because that's exactly why we all voted for him 4 years ago,
Mhm,
because we didn't want things turned upside down. We wanted at
mhm.
least to know the, what do you call it? Know the devil you're siding with, like, know the evils that it could be. If you know your enemy, or it's not an enemy, but you know what I mean. If you know what you're up against, it's better to deal with it. I didn't want everything turned all upside down. And they had Biden go because they knew that the other candidate was not going to pull the votes. They also had a long history and a lot of stuff that people just were looking for change. They
Mhm.
wanted change. And unfortunately, not to get it too political, but that party didn't recognize the need for change as strong as it was, because I truly believe that it's just frustration and the need for change that got that man voted in, because it's really hard for me to believe that everybody doesn't see him as a cartoon character.
Mhm.
Like,
Cartoon villain. That's how I see him.
it was a desperate need to shake up a system that was not working for them, that they didn't feel their voices were heard. They didn't see things changing. They could not stomach the status quo anymore. And I'm afraid, really afraid for November, that we may
Well,
be.
Biden has done an awful lot of good things for this country,
He
and
has, and nobody's talking about it.
exactly. And I think that's where we've got to go in the next few months, is getting out the political ads that
Mhm.
show a lot of the things that he's done, because he really has done a lot of
Yeah.
really good things.
So
The
the
Republicans.
unemployment notice, everything, all of it, the numbers, financially, everything that
Mhm.
everybody's pushing against has made progress, a lot of progress. Nobody talks about it. They don't want to hear the good things.
But the Republicans are just way better at getting their message out there, aren't they?
Yes, they
Than
are.
what the Democrats are, which
Or
is
muddling the message, I would say.
exactly whatever way you want to look at it, they
Yeah.
get their point across more expertly than.
It's a fantastic PR machine with absolutely no message behind it. They forgot the
Absolutely,
mission
yeah.
statement when they started this crap,
Yeah.
actually, because
Yeah.
that party, I don't even know what they represent anymore.
They've got no policies. They've got
Yeah.
no policies. The Democrats have a lot of policies, but
Well, we are out of time. And so Mark Caesar had a good suggestion for a topic for us for next time, which is gendered jobs. What jobs are still, obviously there's not certain requirements that certain genders be in particular jobs, but some jobs still are, for in all practical senses, still gendered. And I think that might make a good topic. Yeah.
sure, that's
Mhm.
definitely something that's worth being brought up.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's all on this live stream, which I'll look at later, and I'll get ideas like that, because I
Mhm.
do take note of what's around and what people suggest. And yeah, thanks to you guys in the chat too, by the way. We've got a handful of people in there, and everyone's stuck around, so that's great. It's really appreciated. We're trying to build the channel and get people to subscribe and jump on, because really it's going to get just more interesting. I'm going to start doing some emails as well, so I hope from people that I've done things with in the past, and I have their email addresses, I'll just do a group email, and it's basically just to inform people what's kind of happening, and to ask if there's anything they think they could contribute to a project or whatever. Or if you don't want me to email you, then you can just let me know and I'll take you off that list. But everybody I've kind of been in contact with, so I think everyone would be happy enough to receive those. But yeah, really just trying to grow the channel. So yeah, please subscribe and jump on board, because it's going to be fun and it's worthwhile. I really think it's worthwhile. Anyway, I'll let you finish up, Gigi. I had more things to play, but
Oh, you did? I thought you said you had three.
no. Look, I always prepare way too much.
Okay.
So it's fine, because they'll get played in the future. There's no problem there.
Okay. Well, thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to Claire and Art and Ganna. It's been a pleasure having all of you here. And keep working for Utopia. We'll get there one day.
We will. Let's work on a campaign to vote banana, and I'm all for it.
That's right.
That made me happy. A yellow.
Yeah. So let's get naked in future.
Get naked, vote banana.
Get naked, vote banana. I love it.
That could be the name of the next stream.
It's a great campaign slogan. I can tell you that. Like,
I do like that.
Come in.
I'd like to finish off. Thanks, Gigi, for hosting again, and thanks all you guys. It's great to have you here. I don't know what the next one's going to be, but we'll keep doing these and just be consistent. And I will finish up with what we were using as our intro theme for 2 or 3 weeks. We'll finish up with that one, and yeah, we'll catch you next time. So, yeah, bye for now.
Thanks for having us. Bye all.
Just watch our tempo from speeding up too. I feel as though we might be speeding up just a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I see a world that's equal and right. I see a world